Hey, I'm Megan. My story isn't like the happy ones you usually hear. It's kind of messy, just like me, I guess. When I was 6, my dad left us. He didn't say much. He just walked out one day and never came back. My mom, Isabella, didn't take it well. I don't really blame her, but I was the one who suffered the most. Megan, dear chores. Her voice would break the silence in our small house, like a sharp sound cutting through the air. She always made me feel like I was just a problem in her life. I'm doing them, Mom, I'd say, trying to keep my voice calm. I learned early that talking back only made her angrier. Still, sometimes I couldn't help it. She would just sigh and say I was as useless as my dad. That really hurt. I didn't even remember him much, but to her I looked and acted just like him. It was like I reminded her every day of the man who left us. Most days, she was out trying to build a better life for us. At least that's what she said. But really, I was alone most nights. Or stuck with her friends, who didn't want me around. Watch Megan. She'd tell them like I was some pet she didn't want to deal with. When she was home, she barely showed any love. Maybe a quick pat on the head or a half-hearted while I talked about my day or asked about Dad. She never really listened. One evening, I tried to hug her. I just wanted to feel like her daughter. But she pulled away and gave me a cold look. What do you want now? She snapped, like I was bothering her. Nothing, I said quietly, stepping back. After that, I stopped asking for hugs. School wasn't much better either. I was the quiet kid, the one wearing old clothes that used to belong to someone else. At every parent-teacher meeting, my mom never showed up. Why is your mom never here, Megan? The other kids would ask. What could I say? That she didn't care? One day, Isabella came home in an even worse mood than usual. She had a fight with one of her friends, the kind of friend who was supposed to watch me but never really did. Why can't you be like other kids, Megan? She shouted. Look at you, sitting there with your silly books. You're just like your father, a complete waste of space. I bit my lip, trying not to cry. Fighting back wouldn't help. It never did. Sorry, Mom, was all I could say, even though I didn't understand what I had done wrong. That night, I lay in bed, listening to the stillness of the house. It was so quiet, but it felt heavy, like the silence was full of sadness. I felt unwanted, unloved. I made a promise to myself. One day, I would change my life. I wouldn't end up like Isabella, angry and alone. I didn't know how yet, but I had to believe that life had something better for me. Then Paul came into our lives. Mom married him quickly, and suddenly, we were a family again. But when my baby sister Emma was born, everything changed. It was like I disappeared. I became invisible in the house that once felt like home. Megan, look at your sister. Why can't you be more like her? Mom would say. She'd look at Emma with so much love in her eyes, love I hadn't seen in a long time. I tried to remember the last time she looked at me that way, but I couldn't. I just looked down and tried not to let her words hurt me. What do you mean, Mom? I asked quietly. She let out a loud sigh, full of frustration. Emma is so neat and lovely. And you look at you in those big, baggy clothes. Always hiding. Who knows what you're trying to cover up? You could be pretty if you just tried. Sometimes Paul would speak up, trying to make peace. Isabella, Megan's fine just the way she is. She's smart and kind. But Mom would quickly shut him down. I'm talking to my daughter, Paul. Stay out of it, she'd say coldly. As time passed, the distance between me and Emma grew. She enjoyed being the favorite, and she used it to get what she wanted. She'd smile sweetly while making trouble for me. Mom, Megan won't share her makeup with me. Emma would lie, even though she knew it wasn't true. I hardly had enough for myself, but Mom would still snap at me. I bought that for both of you, she'd say, without even checking what really happened. Why do you always have to be so selfish? But I tried to explain, only to be silenced by her angry glare. Paul, bless him, tried to calm things down, but most of the time, it didn't work. One evening, I was helping Emma with her homework. Out of nowhere, she knocked her glass of juice over my papers on purpose. Oops, she said, without a bit of regret in her voice. Paul saw what happened. He looked serious. "Emma, apologize to your sister," he said firmly. Emma pouted and quickly switched to her fake sweet voice. "I didn't mean to, Daddy." "I'm sorry, Megan," she said, lying through her teeth. Just then, Mom walked in. She looked at us both, and without even asking what happened, she took Emma's side. "Megan, can't you see she's sorry? Stop overreacting and clean it up," she said coldly. I was so frustrated, but I didn't say anything. I just cleaned up the mess. It hurt so much, the unfairness of it all. It was always like this. Emma said something, and I was always the one blamed. In Mom's eyes, I was always the problem. One day, I was feeling sad and just wanted to feel close to someone. Without thinking, I called Paul Dad. It just slipped out as natural as breathing. But right after I said it, everything changed. Mom's face twisted with anger. "How dare you?" she yelled. "You have a father, Megan. Paul is not him. You're just trying to replace him because he didn't want you." Her words hit me hard, like a punch straight to the chest. Paul looked shocked. He didn't know what to say. He stood there, caught between his wife and me. I could feel my voice shaking, and I couldn't stop the pain from showing. I tried to speak, but the words broke into pieces. "Oh, so what? You think you can just pretend we're a happy little family now?" Mom's words were full of poison. Each one cut deep, like a knife aimed at my heart. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran to my room, trying to block out the sound of Emma laughing in the hallway. I was the outsider, the one no one really wanted. This house didn't feel like home. It was full of favorites, cold looks, and quiet battles no one else could see. Paul tried to comfort me, but his kind words felt like a small bandage on a deep wound. It couldn't fix everything. Growing up in that house was hard, really hard. And as I got older, things only got worse. When I hit my teen years, home life turned from bad to awful. Mom's words became even meaner, and Emma? She turned into a little queen, bossy, smug, and always backed up by Mom, who cheered her on. I was trying on clothes in my room when I heard the door slightly open. From the hallway, I could hear Emma giggling. "Look at Megan trying to dress up, like putting lipstick on a pig," she said loudly, not even trying to whisper. Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. "Shut up, Emma," I snapped, more hurt than angry. Then Mom's voice cut through everything. "Megan, don't talk to your sister like that. And Emma's right, those clothes don't suit you at all." I just stood there, feeling both angry and embarrassed. I wanted to yell, to tell them both how unfair they were being. But I knew it would only make things worse. Just then, Paul walked in, not realizing what was happening. "What's all the noise about?" he asked, looking at all of us. "Emma's just being her usual sweet self," I muttered, full of sarcasm. Paul sighed and looked tired. "Girls, can't we just get along for once?" "Tell her to stop picking on me then," Emma said in her fake sad voice, acting like the victim again. "I'm not the one starting it," I said quickly. But no one listened. Paul just shook his head and walked away, leaving me alone again. The next day at school, I heard some kids talking about a party. For a moment, I let myself imagine going. Just for once, I wanted to feel normal. But reality came crashing back. I couldn't invite anyone home. Mom would say something rude and scare them away, especially if it was a friend or a boy I liked. She had a way of making sure no one stuck around. One night, Mom started going on again about how I looked. "You could be pretty if you actually tried, Megan. Look at Emma. She takes care of herself." I had enough. I was tired of it. "Why do you always compare me to her?" "I'm not Emma," I said, my voice full of frustration. Mom just rolled her eyes. "Because she sets a good example. You could learn a lot from your sister." It felt like she had slapped me. It was always about Emma. Emma was the smart one, the pretty one, the one who did everything right. And me? I was never enough. I ran to my room, my heart pounding. I finally let myself cry. I was the outsider in my own family. No matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. They always made me feel like I didn't belong. Falling in love should have been something exciting, Something happy, right? Maybe for other people. But for me, it felt like walking blindfolded through a minefield. After everything I'd been through at home, all I wanted was something kind, something soft, something real. But every time I thought I found love, boom, everything exploded in my face. I met David at work. He was funny, had a great smile, and didn't seem to mind that I was a little awkward. We got along really well, and for a moment I thought, maybe this could turn into something real. One night, I decided to bring him home, thinking it would be okay. Big mistake. "Megan, who's this?" Mom asked, looking at David like he was something dirty she found under the sink. "This is David, Mom. We work together," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. David smiled politely and reached out his hand. "Nice to meet you, ma'am," he said kindly. Mom gave him a small, fake smile and didn't say much. Then, once we sat down, it began. She had this way of finding exactly what would hurt me most and saying it with a sweet tone that made it worse. "So, David," she said, "Megan's not much to look at, but she has a good heart, I guess. At least she keeps her room clean." Her voice sounded nice, but the words were cruel. I felt my face turn red, and my heart sank. David looked at me, confused, maybe even feeling sorry for me. That look, it hurt more than anything else. He tried to speak up. "Actually, I think Megan's amazing, smart, and really funny," he said, trying to stand up for me. But Mom wasn't done. "Oh, sure. But, boys have to be careful. Girls like Megan can get too clingy. One date, and they start dreaming about wedding dresses." Each word cut deeper than the last. I just wanted the night to end. David left, and with him went any chance we had. After that, he was still polite at work, but distant. I didn't blame him. Who would want to deal with a family like mine? And it wasn't just David. There was Kenneth, Jeffrey, and a few others. Different guys, same ending. Either Mom scared them away with her comments, or Emma made up some lie about me to embarrass me. Eventually, I stopped bringing guys home. I started meeting them outside. But by then, the damage was done. My confidence was gone. Every date felt like a countdown, just waiting for the moment they'd find out about my family and walk away. One night, after another bad date, I came home and saw Paul sitting alone in the living room. The TV light flickered on his tired face. "Rough night?" he asked gently. "Yeah, you could say that," I replied, sitting down next to him. He looked at me and said, "Megan, you're amazing. Any guy would be lucky to have you." He meant it, I could tell. I wanted so badly to believe him. But it's hard to believe in yourself when your own mom and sister are always ready to tear you down. I didn't feel like I was enough. "Thanks, Paul. Just have to keep looking, right?" I said with a fake smile. But inside, I felt broken. "Yeah, keep looking. He's out there, Megan. Someone who'll see how amazing you really are," Paul said kindly. His hope was like a little light in all the darkness I was feeling. I nodded. I wasn't sure I believed him, but I was thankful he believed in me. Maybe one day, I'd meet someone who would look past all the mess and still want to stay. Until then, I'd keep hoping for a kind of love strong enough to handle my crazy life. Now, here I am. Megan. I'm 28, and I've built a small life for myself. I work as an economist at a big company, and I have my own little apartment, nothing fancy, but it's mine. And then everything changed. I met Larry. He's not just some guy, he's the guy. The one I can actually imagine spending forever with. One evening, while we were relaxing on my old thrift store couch, Larry looked at me seriously but sweetly. "Megan," he said, "I think it's time we meet each other's families. If we're serious about this, and I know I am, then they should know." My stomach flipped. Meeting his family? No problem. But mine? That's a whole other story. "Larry, you know I'm all in," I said. "But my family, it's not simple." He gently held my hand and smiled. "Hey, everyone's family is a little crazy. How bad can it be?" So I told him. Everything. About Mom. About Emma. I didn't leave out the ugly parts. To my surprise, he didn't run away. Instead, he held my hand tighter. "We'll face them together," he said. Just like that, I felt a little braver. So, I called the one person I could always count on, Paul. He'd always been the calm in the middle of my family storm. "Paul, I've got something to tell you," I said. "I'm seeing someone, his name is Larry. And, we're engaged." There was a small pause, and then he said, "Megan, that's amazing. When can we meet him?" His happiness wrapped around me like a warm blanket. He didn't even stop to ask if, he went straight to when. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Soon, Paul. I'm just a little nervous about Mom and Emma." "Don't worry," he said. "I'll handle things on this side. Just bring that young man over. It's time for some good news around here." After I hung up, I turned to Larry. He had been quietly watching me, his eyes full of concern and curiosity. "Well," I said, smiling, "Paul's in. Looks like we're really doing this." Larry pulled me into a hug. "See? That's step one. We've got this. We'll handle the rest together." I couldn't stop feeling nervous. Meeting Larry's parents had gone better than I ever expected. They were kind, friendly, and made me feel welcome. Everything you'd hope for in future in-laws. It gave me a little bit of hope, maybe even too much. Now, I was walking back and forth in my living room, trying to hold on to that same hope. Dinner at my mom's house was coming up, and I was scared. Larry, always the positive one, kept telling me it would be fine. But deep down, I knew better. This wasn't just a dinner, it felt like a battle. My painful past facing off against my possible future. Still, with Larry next to me, I felt a little stronger. But I couldn't stop thinking about all the ways it could go wrong. In my mind, I pictured every possible disaster, each one worse than the last. "Megan, it'll be okay," Larry said, stopping me as I paced. He pulled me into a hug. "No matter what happens, we'll face it together." The air felt heavy as we walked up to my mom's house. We were both bracing for what could happen, but neither of us expected the surprise we got. "Megan, Larry." My mom greeted us at the door with a big smile. Her usual coldness was gone, replaced by warmth that felt fake. Once we were inside and the introductions were done, she dropped the first surprise. "So, Larry, Megan tells me you're some big-time director at your company," she said, her eyes lighting up in a way I hadn't seen in years. Larry, always humble, smiled and said, "Well, I wouldn't say big-time, but yeah, I've worked hard to get where I am." And just like that, Mom changed. She was suddenly full of smiles and compliments, hanging on every word Larry said. The way she acted was almost funny if it didn't hurt so much. Dinner was served, and the mood in the room was completely different. Mom kept bragging, doing her best to make our family look perfect. She focused a lot on Emma. "Emma just got into the honors program at school," she said proudly, looking at Larry as if to say, "See, we're all high achievers." Emma smiled and added her own praise. "Yeah, I've always been top of my class. I guess it just runs in the family." I rolled my eyes, but said nothing. Larry gave my hand a gentle squeeze under the table, silently letting me know he had my back. Paul, always trying to be fair, mentioned some of the things I had achieved too. But Mom didn't let him finish. She quickly changed the topic back to Emma or to Larry's career. As the evening went on, it became more and more clear. Mom had a plan, and it had nothing to do with getting to know Larry or being kind to me. She was clearly trying to build a connection with Larry, probably to make sure she stayed close to what she thought was our new success. "Larry, you must come from a very hard-working family," Mom said, glancing back and forth between him and Emma. "It's so important to teach strong values to our children, don't you think?" Larry, being the kind and respectful person he is, handled it calmly. "Absolutely. Hard work and honesty are really important," he said, making sure to look at me while he spoke, including me in the conversation. When it was time to leave, Mom wouldn't stop clinging to him. "You have to come over for dinner again soon, Larry. It was such a pleasure having you here," she said sweetly, almost forgetting I was standing right there. Once we got into the car, Larry let out a long breath and said, "Wow, that was something else. Your mom really knows how to put on a show." I sighed and leaned back in my seat. "Yes, sorry about that. She only sees what she wants to see." Larry reached over and took my hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Hey, remember, we're in this together. Nothing she says or does can change that." The next day, I was still thinking about everything that happened when my phone rang. It was Larry, and I could tell right away something was off. His voice was tight, like he was trying to stay calm, but couldn't. "Megan, you're not going to believe this," he said. "Your mom, she called me." I froze. "She called you? How did she even get your number?" "She must have found it on some work paper you left at her house," he said. "But it's what she said that's insane." My heart dropped. "What did she say, Larry?" "She asked me to break up with you and marry Emma instead," he said quickly, like he still couldn't believe it himself. It felt like I'd been hit in the stomach. "She what?" The words didn't feel real. It was like we were talking about someone else's life, not ours. "Yeah, I know. It's beyond messed up," Larry said. "But I have an idea. Let's expose her. Let's show everyone who she really is." Now fast forward. I'm sitting in a cafe, wearing a wig and sunglasses, my heart racing. I sat in the cafe, watching Larry and my mom at a table nearby. She spoke confidently, laying out her crazy plan like she was making a business deal. She had no idea there was a small recorder hidden in Larry's jacket. When the meeting ended, Mom walked out of the cafe smiling, full of pride. I just watched her go, shaking my head. She didn't seem like my mom anymore. It was like a stranger was wearing her face. Larry came over to me, his face showing both worry and anger. "You okay, Megan?" he asked. I looked at him, knowing exactly what I wanted now.
"Yeah."
"I'm okay," I said. "Let's go home. We have a wedding to plan." The day had come to tell the truth. No more lies. No more pretending. I walked into my parents' house, not as the same Megan they thought they could control, but as someone who now saw through all their lies. As soon as I stepped in, Mom greeted me with a smug smile. "Well, look who showed up. Too bad Larry won't be joining you anymore, right? He's chosen Emma over you," she said with fake sadness in her voice. Paul was standing next to her, looking confused. His eyes moved from Mom to Emma, then to me. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice full of concern. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked at Larry, who had just walked in behind me. We nodded at each other, no more hiding. It was time to end this once and for all. "Actually, Mom, Larry is here," I said, stepping aside so she could see him. Her smile faded for a second. She quickly covered it up, trying to act like she didn't care. The room went silent. Everyone could feel something big was about to happen. Larry pulled out the recorder and pressed play. My heart was beating fast, knowing what was about to be heard. Then her voice filled the room. "I never loved Megan," she said on the recording. "And Paul, I married him for his money. Nothing more." When the recording stopped, the words still hung in the air. The silence that followed felt heavy and hard to breathe. Finally, Paul spoke. His voice was soft, almost a whisper, but full of pain. I can't believe this." He stared at the recorder, then looked at Mom, hoping she would deny it or show some regret. But she didn't. Paul stood up. The look in his eyes said everything. "That's it. I'm done," he said. "I want a divorce," Paul said. His voice was firm now, full of certainty. "You need to leave the house." What happened next was chaos. There were shouting, blaming, and tears. Our family, already broken, fell apart completely. Mom and Emma, who had worked together in their lies and greed, were finally facing the results of what they'd done. They were left alone, pushed away by the mess they created. As for me, I stood there in the middle of it all, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Yes, the truth hurt, but it also freed me from the lies that had trapped us for so many years. In the weeks that followed, I focused on healing. I started making plans for my future with Larry, one built on love and honesty. We got married in a small, simple ceremony with only close friends and people who truly cared about us. Paul was there too. His presence reminded me that not all family ties were lost. As for Mom and Emma, I made the hard choice to cut them out of my life. It wasn't easy, but I needed it. I needed space, peace, and a fresh start. As Larry and I stood together, holding hands, I knew this was only the beginning. A brand new chapter. one without secrets or pain from the past. We were ready to face the future together.